Every one of these organelles or parts of a cell is responsible for doing. We've covered these already. So if I say that I'm looking for the organelle that is responsible for making ATP, which one would I be referring to? The one that makes energy, the one that makes ATP, the one where cellular respiration takes place.
Ribosome.
No.
Here's your
Mitochondria is what you would say if you studied your notes.
I was looking for the ATP part in here. I know I wrote down something.
If I was asking for the organelle that kind of modifies and changes and fine-tunes and packages and sorts, I would say it's the Golgi effort. If I was looking for the organelle that is like a security gate that controls what comes in and out of the cell, it would be plasma membrane.
Are you doing that because we're on fire?
If I was looking for there are two words up here. If I was looking for the two words up here that are only found in prokaryotes. Remember, there's those simple cells, prokaryotes. They only contain two of the things up here. What are they?
Upon interruption, I would like to make one announcement to clear out this evening's activities. The homecoming activities for tonight, the bonfire especially, is for grades 9 through 12 only. Junior high students, this is not an event for you. The dance tonight is also grades 9 through 12 only. Homecoming week activities do include junior high, but not the bonfire and not the dance. Thank you very much.
All right. Yeah, the junior high is also on.
They got their dresses.
They got their dresses.
That'd be funny.
I cannot find prokaryotes.
Okay. Two parts. Prokaryotes only. Which ones? Name at least. No. Ribosomes are one of them. Ribosomes is one. What's the other one?
Cytoskeleton.
Close. Cytoplasm. Okay. All right. If I would, okay, we gotta go easy again, guys. So, what are the cleaners of the cell? The lysosomes. Very good. Name a word up here that's only found in plant cells. Chloroplast, and actually, I would say backbone because it's just really big in the plant. Okay, so I'm not going to say it's the wrong answer. Name the word up here. What's the word up here that refers to the what all eukaryotic cells have? It distinguishes between eukaryotes and prokaryotes. Nucleus. Very good. Very good. Cool, guys. Very good. Tell you what, today's kind of easy. I only have two more.
Oh yeah, we don't. Jeez, I should have took notes in advance, but I already had this.
Yeah. Actually, there's one thing that I don't think you and we talked about in here. The last thing in your notes we did talk about were mitochondria and chloroplasts. Okay, that should be one of the last things in your notes. I did mention, and I think I left you yesterday going, there's a lot in common between mitochondria and chloroplasts. They both have a double membrane around them. Look at this chloroplast, bam, bam. There's these two membranes they just kind of cut through. Mitochondria also has two membranes in it. One of them is just a circular one, and the other one's like folded all up, but still it has two membranes. You can't see it from this picture, but mitochondria and chloroplasts each have their own DNA. They have DNA inside of them. These little circular pieces of DNA. That's unique. Okay, so actually it kind of led scientists to come up with this theory, this endosymbiotic theory. What you guys are going to learn, the word symbiosis kind of means living together. You know, give a symbiotic relationship. It's basically two organisms that somehow live together, somehow in harmony, kind of a deal. Well, sometimes. This endosymbiotic theory is basically a theory that has it's been around for a long time to explain how eukaryotes evolved from prokaryotes. Okay, here's what it's saying. Way back in history. Way back in history. Early Earth. There's a lot of evidence to basically support the fact that prokaryotes came first. It makes sense. Prokaryotes are those simple cells, like bacteria. They don't consist of much. All right, so basically, prokaryotes came first. So then this theory attempts to say, well, where do eukaryotes came from? And what they're saying is actually, it's really simple. They said earlier, you had a bunch of little prokaryotes all around. They came in different sizes. Some were bigger than others. But what ended up happening, they actually believed that one of the smaller prokaryotes was engulfed and taken in by one of the larger prokaryotes to form now this eukaryotic cell with all these internal organelles. Excuse me. So really, it's a very simple theory to explain and to understand. And the evidence is kind of what we already talked about. The fact that you have organelles like mitochondria and the chloroplast that almost look like they existed on their own at one time is a huge piece of evidence to support this theory. By the way, let me kind of talk to you about that word theory real quick. You know what, even last year and this year, and in the world of science, you see lots and lots of talks about theories and laws in science, okay? When scientists do a lot of research, and they are lucky enough to, down the road, kind of be responsible for forming a theory or a law. When you see the word theory, like you see it here, scientists don't use the word theory like we use the word theory, like in our everyday language. We use the word theory as like a guess. My theory is all of you are going to have a great time tonight at the bonfire.
I won't be there.
Okay. All right. That's a guess. I don't know if that's going to happen. Okay. The scientific community does not look at the word theory like that. It's a big misconception out there. When it comes to that, in the world of science, theories and laws actually have equal amount of credibility. They're up there the same, not one's more than the other. You have laws, like last year we talked about Newton's laws of motion. Okay, that was the big one we talked about last year. Here's a theory, the endosymbiotic theory. Last year, even though I didn't say the words, last year we talked about something called the atomic theory. Okay? Equal credibility in the science world. Both theories and laws require years and years worth of experiments by multiple scientists, peer review, published in papers, blah, 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 all this. It's a long process. The only difference between the two is that laws kind of tell how things happen. If I drop this flash drive, it'll fall toward the center of mass. That's the law of gravity. Okay? That's what's going to happen. It's how it's going to happen. Theories answer a different question. They try to explain something in nature. It's an explanation. By saying this drops, that's not an explanation. That's just telling you how it is. Theories attempt to explain information. So the atomic theory, okay, explains how protons, neutrons, and electrons behave in an atom. The endosymbiotic theory explains how eukaryotes evolved from prokaryotes. The theory of evolution we're going to talk about later in the year explains how organisms have changed through time. Basically, theories are there to offer explanations for something. Laws are there to tell you kind of how things are. Both of them equally is accepted in the scientific community. Not one has more credibility than the other. Take this for example. I don't care how much new evidence comes out to support this endosymbiotic theory, it'll always be called a theory. It'll never be called a law because it's explaining something. Doesn't matter how much evidence comes out to support it. So, kind of want to mention that because when you see the word theory in science, people are they get the wrong idea about what the word theory means in science. It's not the same way we explain it, or we kind of think it is. All right, guys, 2 organelles. I can't find the sheet, so I'm just going to rewrite it out. 2 organelles. Cell wall. What kind of cells have a cell wall?
Plants.
Yep, good. Plants. Very good. That's half the battle. Let's say this is a cell. Let's say the blue line number on the drawing is the plasma membrane. We've already talked about that. Every cell is a plasma membrane. Cell walls are always located outside of the plasma membrane. Not every cell has them. The only cells that have them are, yes, those cells that make up the plant kingdom. Believe it or not, all of those cells that make up a mushroom and other fungus, they all have a cell wall too. They all have a cell wall too. And believe it or not, kind of strange, those little bacteria, those prokaryotes that don't have a whole lot to them, most of them have a cell wall too. Here, let me label this as the plasma membrane. We have already talked about the plasma membrane. Because I want you guys to understand these two things don't have the same job. We've already talked about the plasma membrane. The main job of the plasma membrane was to be like a security gate to control what comes in and what goes out. Okay, really a plasma membrane doesn't do a whole lot of supporting the cell, keeping it together. A little bit, yeah, but not really. It's really more there to be a security gate. Cell walls are different. They are there definitely to support the cell. Cells that have a cell wall are like plant cells, okay? Remember what we said about plants. They have this really large vacuole filled with water. Basically, plant cells are big, giant bags of water. Okay, think about what water, if you were a big cell and had a bunch of water in there, water exerts quite a lot of pressure from within. If you didn't have a cell wall there as a plant cell, you would be in danger of, boop, kind of exploding. So that cell wall actually offers more of a support mechanism because these organisms, plants, fungi, and bacteria, spend a lot of time around water. So they have cells that have a lot more water in them than many animal cells. So definitely a different job, cell wall. And finally, no. Just gonna draw a little picture. Some cells actually are hairy, have these little hair-like projections called cilia. Some other cells, rather than having long little strands of hair, have like one little tail. Oops. That would be a flagella. Flagella and flagellum are the same thing. Flagella. Both of these structures are required for movement of the cell or moving substances across the cell. All right, let me give you an idea. There's a protist. There's a protist called Chlamydomonas, okay? Big long name. It's a protist. It's probably one of those things you saw on the microscope the other day. It basically moves because it has this big giant flagellum in the back, basically moving the cell through pond water. So that's an example of an organism, a whole organism that would have some kind of flagellum. Humans actually, there's other protists that have cilia around it, kind of move and glide through the water. Humans, actually, the lining of our respiratory tract is lined with cells that have cilia in them because, as you guys probably already know, we are kind of gross. Humans are disgusting and gross, and there's lots of mucus inside of us that needs to get out, and it is the job of our respiratory system to be lined with these cells that have cilia to keep mucus from staying in us. So it basically, you guys constantly have these cells in your respiratory tract that are bringing up mucus. Okay, that's a good thing. That's a good thing. You want that. So, cilia and flagella, either moving a cell or moving substances like mucus across the cell, like up and out. So, any questions? Let's look at some pictures.
Has both.
Yeah. This is a typical, I think I might have even shown you this before,
Yeah.
but I think I showed it at the beginning of the chapter. Now that we're at the end of the chapter, we've talked about all these structures. It's squeaky. Again, prokaryotic cell. Even though it's not labeled, you can see it has both cilia and flagella. I mean, that's pretty cool. Prokaryotic cell, again, there's no nucleus, but it does have DNA. It's just kind of all over the place. Has ribosomes, cell membrane, cell wall. I just want to kind of show you these pictures again to remind you of the various types of cells. Your typical animal cell. All right, obviously you should be able to look, even if nothing was labeled, you should be able to look at this cell and automatically know that this is a eukaryotic cell. Okay, you could probably guess it's an animal cell because you're not going to see any of those chloroplasts there. All right. Your typical plant cell has a couple of structures you don't see in animal cells. Cell wall, chloroplasts. And look at that giant vacuole of water. No wonder they need a cell wall. Okay. I think that might be all I have. All right. Here's what we're doing. I think I'm done with that kind of for the day. Let's tell you what you guys are doing for the rest of today and tomorrow. Since I know you guys have a bonfire tomorrow, I figured we'd do a little different. Or you have a bonfire tonight. Thank you. Yes. And we can even start. We actually have about 5 or 10 minutes to start. We've now covered all the parts of the cell. Here's your assignment. Okay, whether you're here or not, here's your assignment. You have to look through magazines or even pictures on the internet if you're able to print them out. You have to look for pictures. Every person needs to do this. You have to look for pictures. I want 5 pictures that will represent some organelle or cell part. Okay? Let me tell you an example. Let's say, I think I told you that the job of the endoplasmic reticulum was kind of like a highway system. It moves substances through the cell. Well, if you found a picture in a magazine of a road or a street, there's your endoplasmic reticulum. No, you got you got to be careful. You can, yeah, if you can find a picture of UPS. Something. You guys get the idea. Okay. So what you're going to be doing today and tomorrow is every person needs 5 pictures. You don't need to paste them on anything. There's no glue required. I just want you to literally have 5 pieces of something cut out. You're going to be ready to tell everybody else in the class what you cut out and why. So this is very much going to be definitely you're going to use your notes.
Are we allowed to write if we post it?
Tomorrow.
If we post it on like color paper, whatever it's called, are we allowed to write what we want to say about it on the back?
Yeah, I would be okay with that. Yep. If you wanted to cut out a paper, if you wanted to have a little note card next to you and say, I chose to pick a picture of a tomato because, I don't know. And I don't know what a tomato would be used for.
Right.
Probably nothing, but you know what I mean.
Throwing at people because they're nasty.
Okay. It's really, try to make these good pictures. This should actually be fun. There's some of the people in the other class were coming up with some pretty cool ideas of things they could look for to represent different parts of the cell. Okay. I'll tell you what, you guys have like 5-7 minutes. There's a bunch of magazines and scissors over there. Feel free to start browsing.
I'll use scissors.
I'll stop.